an individual reader of temperature and humidity, and these are very inexpensively, purchased at Canadian Tire or somewhere. And they just keep a minimum and maximum, so they have to be looked at and otherwise recorded if they didn't have a recorder in here. And then again, ruled, they have very long maps, which are too long to store in map cabinets flat. So those are all rolled and individually laid out, so they don't get too tattered. Again, the map cabinets, flat, large maps and other works on paper. This is the outside wall, and there's windows covered with curtains to keep light out. Plaques with glass over, and they are on an outside wall, you might notice, but the wall is extremely thick and sturdy, so it's a good buffering against changes in temperature. Here's some examples too of the design for Bowring Park and different regalia that is quite common in archives collections. So this is a way of displaying it, but it's also safe for long-term storage. And this is a good example of hanging systems for larger works. That's safer to have 2 or 3 even separate sturdy hangers and then hooks or nails or whatever hooks in the wall corresponding, rather than having a wire. It's safer for security and it's safer for safety. Tell if they were kept, what conditions they were kept in, by what shape they're in.
That's right. Yeah. If I had a clue, at least I might be able to get the history.
But there are a variety of things here. This is interesting. This damage on this painting. Because that looks like it's either acid or it really looks like insect grazing. See all those like lighter areas around there? That's what that is. I would just suggest putting a piece of cardboard or something in between each to help protect the frames from getting smashed up. And, well, we mentioned before, of course, the light, the windows would be covered so that there's not...
I think that's the first most important thing.
Yes, yeah. And it'll affect the amount of heat as well.
Exactly.
Yeah, and the change in the heat. And now, of course, all of these would have, you will be doing, or somebody will be probably doing some sorting out of these.
That's right.
But even to start with, for physical care, just putting the similar things in terms of what materials they're made from,
right.
Whether it's a painting on canvas or whether it's a framed and glazed watercolor or photograph, sort of dividing them up in materials like that and then on size, and it's easier. This is a demo of backing a painting. One of the most important things you can do to protect a painting against damage and handling. This is our demonstration painting. It is a canvas painting on a stretcher, and to protect the back, we like to put a cover on it so that if something jabs against it, it will not damage the painting. And there are a variety of materials that you can use. What is readily available is this material called Coroplast. It's a corrugated plastic sheeting, and we have cut it to size to fit on the stretcher. And to attach this, we just I use a punch to start a hole, and then it is attached with screws and washers so that the screw doesn't go through the plastic board. And I'll just start it to show you. But then you place screws on, a few on each side, so that when something might bang against the painting, it is protected and will just slide off. Also, it protects against dirt and dust collecting inside the stretcher, which is a common thing that happens. Let's take this out to show you. With older paintings that have been stored for some time, there's often a lot of material that has fallen down in here, and what happens with that is it collects and packs down over the years, and it can pop the paint off. So we don't want that. So that is one of the main things for protecting. And I have gloves on, though they're not really necessary for most paintings that are framed. But for this one, it is a gilt edge, a gilt finish, and this comes off on your fingers or on tape if you are taping a painting up with the cover. Another surface, if you didn't have anything and you were in, you were in a situation where you had to get a painting out, but you did have cardboard, then you can just cut a piece of cardboard and staple it on here. This is better than nothing because it still does prevent dust and damage. Now, for a demo of preparing padded blocks for storing paintings, if you have no racks or shelves that you can put them on, at least temporarily, you can get them up off the floor by using a piece of 2x4. Now, these are smaller than you might use, but just for demonstration purposes. And wrapping it with a soft material such as this F foam. Stapled, makes a lot of noise. Stapled on, it doesn't have to be fancy. Now that wouldn't be, it catches and rips quite easily, so we usually cover it with some cloth. Now the best would be a piece of old carpet or something, but this burlap type of material is also has a bit of tooth, so it's there's 2 blocks. And the last step is to put a piece of anti-skid material on the side that will be on the ground against the floor, so that when you have your paintings lined up, it will be, it won't move. Okay, this is to show the use of the padded blocks in your temporary storage. to stack paintings against a wall. And we have, if it's a large canvas painting, the whole canvas back should be covered with a stiff board. If it's glass, then the glass cardboard between the glass and the next painting. If it is glazed on one side and has a board like this, then it doesn't really need anything in between. The idea is to protect them from rubbing against each other, and also that the backs are the outermost, so that if you do have excess light or something pushed up against them, they're protected. Now, in order to move this painting and have it protected on the front as well, we need to encase it with some stiff materials, but cardboard will be fine for this. And because this is a gilded finish frame, we need to protect the corners. Well, we need to protect the corners on any frame, but this also has a little bit of cushioning and stuck into the corner. These corners are available ready-made from moving companies, suppliers, or photo shops. And each corner should be covered. And then the cardboard, I'll just hold it up to show you how. So the front is covered, and we already have the back protected because we put the core glass on there. So all we would need to do with this now is tape it so that it's secure, and using either masking tape. And the masking tape isn't touching the frame. So any tape that you use on any finished frame should not touch the frame finish, because it might, when you take it off, it'll take some of the finish off. You don't want something as strong as, a really sticky tape, because of the fact that it's hard to get off, and then it might pull off some of your finish. So, if this was going to be transported outside, and especially if there's a very change in climate, like it's winter or raining out or something, then you would also wrap this in plastic and polyethylene sheeting, like a painter's drop sheet or something. But here it is now, it's all protected, and if you should drop it or accidentally got caught on something, the corners are protected and the surface is protected. Okay, this is an example of a painting having been prepared for a move through a climate change, because we're taking it outside to be moved. It's been prepared with stiffening cardboard on either side, the back and the front, attached to the frame, and corners to protect the corners, and then wrapped in polyethylene. And this creates a microclimate and protected, it'll stay like this, buffers from changes in temperature or if it's very humid outside. And we've plotted our route down the stairs where it's going, so to know what has to be done and the turns that have to be made. And now I'll show the